Very interesting talk indeed. Now we're going to take the case of Lebanon. In late 2013, the Central Bank of Lebanon launched Circular 331, dedicating 400 million to stimulate the Lebanese startup ecosystem, to grow the knowledge economy, and to create new job opportunities. Today, the impact of this circular is clearly visible in the launch of new VC funds, accelerators, bootcamps, and support initiatives. This session will bring together some of the key figures who were influential in shaping Circular 331 to discuss the progress of the program so far, how it is being implemented, the key challenges, and the opportunities for different entrepreneurship stakeholders to be part and to support the success of the circular. Please welcome Mr. Yasser Akkaoui, Managing Director of NewsMedia, or Executive Magazine as we know it, who will be moderating this panel. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This panel basically brings together stakeholders that have and are playing an integral part of all what we have seen as the result of 331. What the ambition of this panel is basically bring to you, again, as the MC just described, the challenges, the achievements, the concerns, and of course, the ambitions that 331 brings with it. Anybody that is part of this ecosystem has noticed how 331 has triggered and brought the entrepreneurship ecosystem all together. Yet we're still at the beginning. So 18 months later, of course, this panel will be discussing the challenges, the achievements, the future programs, hopefully from those that are in the art of creation, at least at this phase, making sure that 331 achieves its potential. On the panel, we have with us Ms. Marianne Hoayek, Executive Director, Executive Office Unit at Banque du Liban. We have also with us His Excellency Marwan Kheireddine, Chairman and General Manager of Mawarid Banque. His Excellency Nicolas Sehnaoui, former Ministry of Telecommunications. Mr. Maroun Chammas, Chairman and CEO, Berytech and Berytech Funds. And of course, a newcomer to town that hopefully will be sharing with us not only his experience in Lebanon, but also the international perspective, is Mr. Colm Reilly, Managing Director of UKTI Investment Services. Let me start by just asking one overview question. That can at least kickstart the conversation. And that's, what are the major achievements of the circular so far? What are the initiatives that have been launched? Maybe I can hear this from Ms. Marianne. Of course, Marwan has been an integral part of this too, so maybe I can hear this from both of you.
Okay, first allow me to congratulate ArabNet for their successful conference this year. We have been partners as BDL with ArabNet for several years now. And I'm really very happy to share with you our next steps to support entrepreneurs. As you know, Circular 331 was launched in August 2013. It mainly allowed banks for the first time to have the possibility to enter into equity financing along with the usual traditional lending and credit that they offer. They can use up to 3% of their own funds, and this created a platform of around $400 million that really got the ecosystem excited about, and hopefully there will be growth prospects. Of course, when the circular was out, it took us some time to fine-tune the mechanisms and processes that are usually procedural ones. And mind you that banks are used to loans and credits, and for them this was kind of a novelty. But things quickly changed after a few months, and we did our first workshop at the Central Bank that we called Banking Outside the Box. and where all stakeholders were present, from banks to entrepreneurs to accelerators, incubators, etc. And the Lebanese entrepreneurs shared with us their success stories. And from there, from this workshop, the first startup, which was Prisella by Banque and Mawarid, was announced. And from there, the ball started rolling. Then we thought that we really should take it to the next level and decided in November 2014 to gather not only Lebanese and local stakeholders, but also international speakers in order to really share with them international best practices and the latest developments and trends. So today, out of the $400 million that I've talked about, we have around $200 million that are pledged either directly to startups or indirectly to funds. We have now 3 funds that have taken the approval of the BDL Central Council, which are Berytech 2, MEVP Impact Fund, and Leap Fund. The volume of these funds is between $40 and $60 million, and they are investing in high growth potential startups in all sectors: ICT, creative industries, fashion and design, energy, media, etc. And they are offering tickets between $300,000 and $500,000 to $3 million and $5 million. So this is our status today and our achievements.
What about the challenges? Maybe Marwan, because he was the first to be involved with the Priscilla. What would you consider the challenges that 331 has been facing, at least until today?
I think the challenges, well, the most important challenge is convincing the entrepreneurs that they have a vehicle where what is typically the hardest element in any success story, which is equity and capital, is abundantly available in Lebanon. So we're saying, you guys come up with the ideas, structure yourself, come up with a good business plan, and you know what? Equity is there. Typically, any entrepreneur that has been through exits tells you that the hardest thing is finding equity. Well, we're saying, you know what? If you have the idea, we have the equity. Now, convincing entrepreneurs to come and incorporate in Lebanon, because that's a precondition to benefiting from 331. You need to be a Lebanese company, you need to be in Lebanon, you need to be creating jobs in the Lebanese economy. Convincing them and securing a stable deal flow, in my mind, is the hardest thing that we faced so far. But that is normal, because the cycle takes time for the news of 331 to trickle down all the way from the central bank to banks to universities, and then have students in universities start thinking about starting up in Lebanon. It just takes time. We've been at it 18 months. We've already committed about half the funds that we have, and the chances are in the coming 18 months we would have, depleted those funds, and most likely the central bank would have provided more funds for this initiative.
But does Maroun, that Berytech fund can wait 18 months? I mean, we celebrated a couple of weeks ago the launch of Berytech fund, the new fund. Yes. Can you wait 18 months until new innovative ideas can be generated? Or
No, there are in the pipeline, there are many companies now. Actually, we started taking files and meeting with entrepreneurs at least 3-4 months before we officially launched, and sometimes even more time. But let me tell you something that is just fantastic that is happening. For the first time, we're starting to see a reverse migration. And what I mean by that is that a lot of Lebanese folks that are in the States, in Canada, that have been doing business there, building up companies, starting up companies, we're starting to see them coming back to Lebanon. And the reason is that, in the States, there are many opportunities, but there are also many people competing for the same buck, okay, for the same dollar. In Lebanon, because now there is a good amount of money available in the market, and because these guys are Lebanese and they always wanted to have an attachment to Lebanon, they are coming back Of course, the challenge is to make sure that they set up business here and not just a shell company, and this is obviously very important. But the effect, the immediate effect of the of Circular 331 is that it's a catalyst, and the catalyst is that we're not just having people in Lebanon with great ideas that want to, that need fund. We are seeing people from outside with, I would say, very good entrepreneurs. They have good experience, a strong background, technical background, a strong marketing background, a very complete file, much more sometimes complete than the folks here. And so the competition is going to get tough, even for the people here. So all of this is creating this new, if you want, this new panorama, which is to the benefit of the entrepreneur and the ecosystem.
You make it sound a bit utopic, that this
it's
reverse
not at all.
psychology.
It's not. You'll be surprised. We will be announcing very shortly some investments from companies that were, or from entrepreneurs that were living in the States, working in the States for the past 20 years. And they want to come back. And they want to start up business here. So they are bringing their talent, they are bringing their knowledge, they are bringing a lot of very good positive stuff, and they are bringing their experience. And this experience is going to get, I'm sure, multiplied.
Okay. What about the ICT infrastructure? I mean, are they really leaving developed economies where you have all the initiatives and all the infrastructure to come back to Lebanon? I mean, Your Excellency, maybe you can tell us a bit about this big challenge that, I don't know, we have here with us one of our journalists, Ms. Livia Murray, that has been running around trying to figure out whether fiber is on or off. And so far she hasn't succeeded. I mean, what's going on?
Not to dodge the question, but I'm not in the seat anymore, so I'll let Maroun assess it from the private sector point of view. But I want to come back to the challenges and to the formidable opportunities.
As long as you answer the question after you add to what Maroun said.
I'll say a positive note on the infrastructure at the end. But before, I want to review a little bit the formidable opportunity that Circular 331 provided the country and the entrepreneurs. And the fact that we have now 200 million that are already available in the funds, more than 200 million, is in itself a great leap, as one of the funds is named. And the entrepreneurs need now to seize this opportunity. And the country needs to seize this opportunity, because we need to shine the beacon, we need to attract, to promote all over the world, the international Lebanese community around the world, and say something is happening in Lebanon, and you can come and benefit from it. And try to reverse the business model of Lebanon, or the economy of Lebanon that used to export its people, its brains, and say, no, you can be productive out of Lebanon. And to the youth, you can start dreaming of staying in Lebanon instead of always going to the embassies for visas and looking for work all over the Middle East or all over the world. And I think we are beyond talking about 331 as a project. 331 now is a reality, and the money is available. Okay? Now we need to see how to make good use of it. And I'm sure here we have, normally at ArabNet, we have a public of young entrepreneurs who have an idea, who have a startup, creating a startup, or already running a startup, already having some flow of business, and they want to know how to access these funds. And they have, and it's a challenge in itself. I mean, how do they negotiate with the fund? How do they diminish the dilution, because they don't want to give most of their company to a fund? And you have this cultural problem, because they probably come from a family business or from a Lebanese mentality where you want to keep control of most of the company. Whereas in the digital economy, you can be Steve Jobs and have 10% of Apple or 5% of Apple, and it's not a big deal, because your 5% are worth tens of billions of dollars. So these are the type of challenges, and there's also the question of seed money. Today we have a lot of money in the funds, but probably on the seed side today is less availability of funds. And this is probably going to correct itself, but I'm sure the entrepreneur care about that, because not all of them are available to go into Series A or Series B. They're still at the idea level. They need probably $50,000, $100,000, $200,000. So these are the challenges we're still working on, and I'm sure it's going to be, it's in the process of being fixed. But 331 is really making a difference, and we heard from Mr. Abdelaziz Al-Lourani that as an outside eye on Lebanon, he really feels that something has changed and that there is now an opportunity and it's kicking off. So for the infrastructure, I just want to say one word. At least we are over the minimum. I mean, in terms of mobile infrastructure, we're good. We're at par with most of the countries of the world. Make a test on the 4G now. On the you will see that you have very high speed, probably above most of the countries. On the fixed, we are still very low, but we can work. Still, we can work. So I'm not going to comment because I'm not on the seat anymore. But I think we're beyond also the point where we say we cannot consider Lebanon. Yes, today anyone can consider Lebanon to start this company here.
Okay. I would like to hear from Colm. I mean, you were here because you want to escort a selected group of entrepreneurs to list on the UK Stock Exchange. Yet there is reverse immigration. What I would like to know is how realistic is and how feasible all our dreams are. And what do you think now, 2 months that you've been here, what do you think are the real gaps that you don't find in the UK?
Well, the good news is that if I sit in Cheshire...
If you can bring just the microphone
closer. If I sit in Cheshire in the UK today, broadband speed in Beirut is faster than Cheshire. And it's also faster than downtown Arizona. And I want to make a point about this because this conversation is making me very uncomfortable. Okay. Because I was here 2 weeks ago, and it's very nice to come to Beirut 2 weeks ago because it was plus 12 degrees. And does anybody know what the temperature in Minneapolis in the United States was 2 weeks ago? It was minus 34, Abdullah, so you're 4 degrees off. And it is a cold place to be, but there were 3 people from Lebanon in Minneapolis that week, and they signed the second largest retail management and supply chain software deal to the US retail market, to CVC Pharmaceutical Company. It was a Lebanese company from Beirut who flew out from Beirut the previous weekend to do that. And the following week, which was last week when I was back in the UK, Travers Perkins, which is the second largest specialty DIY group, decided above SAP and Oracle that they would pick a Lebanese piece of enterprise software to run their entire point of sale, supply chain, and back office warehousing capability. In the very same week, a Lebanese company had flown out to Tokyo to look for a distributor for their musical product that would be distributed in Japan. And so I'm going to answer your question in the context of 331. You think 331 is the game, but it's not the game. It's a critical part of the game because it came at a very important time. For a long time, we've had Berytech, we've had institutions. When I come to Lebanon, I sit in the Beirut Digital District, which was built well before this. I download my applications just as I would in any other city. Sometimes I wish it was faster, but then I often wish when I'm in Washington it was faster as well. And the point I'm making is that 331 came strategically at a time when the rest of the world was beginning to doubt itself. Post the crash of 2008, 2009, it had done all the good things that you're already doing. And 331 came and said, actually, we believe. And what do we believe? We believe we can create jobs. We believe we can create GDP growth. And we can believe we can be a beacon in this region to show that there is another string to what we do. That is how I've interpreted all of these activities. And it's not about doing something new, because I've given you 3 examples in the last 2 weeks of where Lebanese companies are already doing this from Lebanon overseas, and I can give you banking examples and other examples. It's about making more of these. And yes, there are obstacles to be overcome, and yes, there are challenges, but something interesting has happened in the world since 2008. Capital and labor has started to equalize around the world. No one wants to make textiles in China anymore because it's too expensive. They want to make it in Africa. It doesn't matter. After Africa, there will be somewhere else. No one wants to write software in India anymore. It's too expensive. They want to do it in South America. Because the equalization of prices means that the only value that's existing in the current world is those with ideas. And the one thing we know, which we heard from the previous speaker when he talked about Kuwait, is Lebanon and this region is never short of ideas. You think you're traders, but actually you're good at coming up with answers that didn't exist before because you've had obstacles to deal with that most of the rest of us don't even know about. So I would think that what we're about here is exactly as Nicolas has said. It's about using 331 alongside all the excellent work that already takes place in the landscape in Lebanon and building a new platform. And if 331 does one thing, I don't want you to think about it, about what it does to you internally here. I want you to think about what it does when you sit in Stockholm or London or you're trying to make a purchasing decision in downtown Minneapolis. When you say, this is coming from somewhere where there is a commitment at the highest level to sustain and grow. And that's what this is fundamentally about. And pulling all of these things together is the trick, exactly as Nicolas said, and there is enough latitude in Lebanon to do that. I would challenge this audience with this last comment on this. The challenge you face right now, given all the instruments that have been put in place and given what the central bank has done with 331, is the challenge are not the boundaries that will be put on you from the outside. It is the boundaries that you have decided to put on yourself from the inside. And our job in 331 is to drive that from the outside and make sure that doesn't sustain itself.
You mentioned employment creation. You mentioned GDP growth. I would like to ask Marianne specifically about that. When you've put together 331, how many jobs you're hoping that this circular will be able, or these $400 million will be able to generate? What would be the impact on GDP?
As I mentioned before, now out of the 400 million, about 50% of the 400 million are now pledged. We think if the scheme is totally used, it will generate a growth of up to 1% in the coming 3 years. Unfortunately, there are statistics that say that 1 out of 3 Lebanese people want to emigrate. And a massive 60% of these are people young people between 18 and 25 years old. I think the circular is the ideal antidote of this brain drain. And I think, as Mr. Sehnaoui said, we really have to seize the opportunity because for the first time, it's a real one. As for job creation, we think that this will generate about 500 jobs in the coming 3 years and about 3,000 jobs indirectly. And if the political situation improves, these figures, we think, will triple. I would like just to comment on the challenges because really, we don't want to forget that the biggest challenge is now behind us. Maybe by human nature, we take it for granted now because it's within our hands. But actually, access to finance and access to funds in any ecosystem is the biggest difficulty. And now it's behind us. So I wouldn't call the remaining areas as challenges, but I would just call them areas to be worked on. Of course, securing a deal flow is a problem, is an area that should be worked on. And as a central bank, we realized this very quickly, and we decided to even take it to another level by granting 100% guarantee to some companies that are specialized in boot camps and training centers. And actually, 2 of these have taken the approval of the Central Bank, which are Megaphone and Bootcamp. And if you want, we can talk about, because this is the most important project that we're working on, which is the UK Lebanon Tech Hub.
Okay.
If you want,
please, can you tell us more about it?
So the UK Lebanon Tech Hub is also totally guaranteed by the Central Bank and financed by the Central Bank. It's a joint initiative between the Central Bank and the British Embassy. Discussions a year ago were taking place between the Central Bank and the British Embassy, and today it is materializing. This was the idea of a person that had always a vision for this country, to put it on the map, to trigger some really economic initiatives that will put us in the world, on the international market. And of course, I'm talking about His Excellency Governor Riyad Salameh. And I would like to seize also the opportunity to thank Mr. Tom Fletcher, the ambassador, because due to his energy and enthusiasm and really his belief in the young Lebanese, this was made, or this materialized and took place. It made all the difference. So the UK Lebanon Tech Hub will create an open corridor between Lebanon and the UK by signposting eligible Lebanese companies to the UK and to the international markets for the first time, exposing them to these international markets. And for us, it will be an international stamp that will be added to the existing local ecosystem. I'll allow, of course, Colm will explain that more into details, but I just wanted to say that we have really taken not only the access to finance parts, but also other initiatives.
Thank you, but at the same time, since we're talking about challenges, and this is Marwan and whoever else wants to address this question, in the absence of a regulatory framework, specifically a proper GPLP, and definitely a functioning Beirut Stock Exchange, which, in my opinion, would definitely make this bilateral agreement or these type of initiatives, like what Marianne explained, much more to par. Shouldn't we deal with these issues too? Or we should just be happy with the $400 million and try to outsmart all the gaps that we still have?
No, Yasser, I think the Central Bank has decided to take the bull by the horns. The Central Bank is dealing with all the issues that you just mentioned and more. So the Central Bank, under the guidance of the Governor, Riyad Salameh, provided funding, provided a legal framework for banks to enter into the equity of companies, is providing funding for companies that will create merchandise, if I can call it merchandise, to be ultimately sold on the stock exchange or through private placements. And also, as importantly as all of these things that I've mentioned, is that the Central Bank has appointed the Capital Markets Authority. And they are there, and they're working, and there will be a specialized market for startups that should see the light in the coming 24 months. So if you look at the ecosystem, the approach was not partial. It was actually complete. Every single thing in the ecosystem has been looked at, studied, and there's a plan to make sure that it exists at the time when we need it most. Now, we are creating new financial markets, and that takes time because you need to create the regulations, you need to create the laws that help you, push it. But this is, in all honesty, this is step 2. Step 1 is making sure that we have the funding, we have the money, we have the deals, and then, we will get to the point where we will have the vehicle or the platform to make those companies available to the public for investment.
And if I could just
add to that.
No, أنا بالعكس. You just made a beautiful announcement. It's music to my ears. You said there will be a stock exchange.
I was kidding.
There will be a stock exchange for entrepreneurs. When should we expect that?
I think before, if you might, just before.
No,
Marwan, I think you need to look at this in the context of international comparisons, okay? If you come back to what Lebanon's trying to do, which is to grow the economy and a different leg of the economy, these are important things, but you don't need them right now. You might think you do internally, but externally, what you need is companies that are immediately starting to export and create the ideas and disrupting other industries out there. Focus on the important. I get the obsession with trying to build the perfect pyramid, but in a world where no one has the perfect pyramid, at least build the proper foundations. And what we're doing, and what you are doing, and this is for your congratulations, not anybody from the outside, is you have taken the building blocks that you have, some of which are represented here and which have been sustained for quite some time, some of which have been built by the visions of individuals, and you're saying for the first time, we are going to bring these into a coherent, cogent mass that we will project to the outside world. When you get to that stage and you're in projection, you won't have to worry about capital markets. You won't have to worry about do you have enough broadband speed, because truthfully, the rest of the world starts to tell you. At the moment, you're guessing. How much broadband do people think we need in Lebanon at the moment? You need 2 microseconds, do you think? Do you need efficacy of 1 microsecond? You don't know. If you want to know, go outside and let them tell you what you need. Because when they tell you, then you've got a directive and an imprimatur to go and do something about it. So you are no different than anybody else was when they started to create their own knowledge economy. If we look at what happened to Finland, it's important to learn the lessons of others. They didn't have a capital market when they started off their biotech industry. They couldn't deal with biotech companies. They didn't know anything about mobile companies when they started off their mobile industry. They learned by exporting, and then they built one that was fit for purpose. So I think it's nice to think about the building blocks in place, but I think it's more important to do the fundamentals right first. And the fundamentals are build companies here that create a presence overseas. If you get that right, the rest will follow. Because companies are the only things that create value.
Thank you. We will get to
Yasser, if you allow me to add on what has been said. Putting together 331, we all agree that it was something massive.
We do.
Okay. So I think that we have to give confidence. We are confident, at least in the entrepreneur circle, that those who were able, the people who were able to put 331 together, know very well that they need to continue. So we are totally confident that they're going to be achieving much more than just the 331, because 331, like everybody agrees now, is behind us. Now we have to work to make it fruitful and everything else. So, and just for you to have a straight answer, I happen to have had a meeting with the governor of the Central Bank, and he assured me that he is working on it. And he said, within 1 year, you're going to have that. So rest assured, there's going to be capital markets, there's going to be secondary markets, and this is all for the benefit of the entrepreneur.
We're sure hopeful this will happen. Before we move to looking forward and what we should expect in terms of initiatives, there is a video that was prepared, young entrepreneurs voicing their concerns over certain challenges. And then we'll continue the questions.
My biggest challenge as an entrepreneur was picking the right team. At the same time, next to it was...
It's not working? Technical problem. Technical problem. Okay. You want to address the challenges question?
No, I want to follow the path of helping the entrepreneurs direct their aim and benefit from what is happening, the revolution that is happening, thanks to the central bank. The energy an entrepreneur, a young entrepreneur, is going to put to develop his startup, his company, is the same if he aims very wide, very big, international, address the world market, billions of consumers, and if he addresses his neighborhood of 10 buildings. It's almost the same energy, the same challenges, the same risks, the same money he's going to take from his parents, from his pocket money, from his family to do the same thing. So I say to the entrepreneur, be ambitious, Go for the big markets. Don't look at the Lebanese market. Look at the 300 million Arabs. Look at the 150 million Francophone. Look at the 3 billion, 4 billion English-speaking people around the planet. Then, for the same amount of risk and investment and time and effort, at least if you hit the jackpot, you will have hit a big jackpot. The second thing is, part of this I learned from Colm, by the way, so just to give credit to his expertise. The Me Too's are important. This is how they call them. I mean, the same idea that's been developed, I don't know, in America, around the world, somewhere, and it's been successful, but has not been developed in the Middle East, in the Arab-speaking countries. You develop it successfully, you have a lot of users, and then you sell to the big corporations, and you move on to another project. Third advice, we are, as Lebanon, a content provider. We are the content provider of the Middle East because of our culture, of our history, of our, the density of population, a lot of factors. We are the content, we hold all this content, but we are not distributing it enough. We should be the doorway to the Arab world, but we're not the doorway to the Arab world enough. But this is a place where we are 100% will be successful. And it's not by coincidence that the two exits that happened, Diwani and Shahia, were both into content. It's not a coincidence. There's a lot of things that could be done in that domain. These are 3 small tips because of the technical problem I said I would throw them out.
Going back to Marianne, you know, what are the initiatives we should expect between now and the end of year? Between now and 2015, what are the new initiatives you are working on?
I think I talked about a few of them, mainly the Megaphone and the Bootcamp and the UK Lebanon Tech Hub,
okay,
which we have to follow because they are guaranteed 100% by the Central Bank. So we are really closely working with them. Of course, we are preparing for the next BDL Accelerate, which is going to be a regular event, a platform that will engage all stakeholders. Again, next year we will have one. Actually, we will be tackling all the areas or what you call challenges in the ecosystem. Mainly, I think some work could be done at the banks level, where banks could really kind of improve, let's say, their business model in order for it to be more proactive on the equity financing side as it is on the lending side. We have seen banks that have already established departments and units and have recruited the right talents in order to follow up on the circular, and many others are following. Also, we will be working on having new incubators and accelerators, which are the startup factories. And I really would like to see some rural ones, not only in Beirut, because we want to reach all Lebanese regions, from the south to the north to the Bekaa. There are young people there working behind their desks and no one knows about them. So we want to outreach to those people too. I would like to see more of funds putting their funds in the seed stage, because we are seeing mainly funds in the intermediate and growth stage. Although it's the ones that are with the highest risks, but these are the ones that will ensure the deal flow. So mainly, we are also working with the diaspora, connecting with LFE, Lebanese for Entrepreneurs and Life, because we think they have a really added value and an input to put in the ecosystem. We are also trying to reduce the time it takes for processing the application, and next month there will be an online platform between the commercial banks and the central bank, whereby all application will be processed online from the day the applicant gives in the documents until he receives the approval from the central bank. So mainly these are the areas we're working on.
You mentioned the submittal, which takes us back to, not back, but takes us to the knowledge economy. You know, we always talk about the knowledge economy, yet somehow the definition of a knowledge economy remains a bit blurred, for at least for me, maybe some of the audience. Maybe Marwan can clarify this for us. When we talk about the knowledge economy, what are we talking about?
In my mind, if I can summarize it, it's anything that creates IP and that delivers services using modern technology.
Okay.
We are, I mean, the central bank and banks typically know the second they receive an application as to whether this will, will be a 331, good investment or not. We've had a lot of people come in with ideas that do not really add any value, do not really create anything new in the economy, and we typically tell them, you know what, go and rethink your business model. It needs to create IP. You have to come to us saying that you're going to create IP, you're going to create jobs, you're going to be selling to the world, you can basically become a global, so to say, enterprise, and then deliver your services using some kind of a technological platform. If you have these two, the chances are higher than, as opposed to lower, that your company will be approved under 331, correct?
But can we have examples of what fits under the knowledge economy? What fits under the knowledge economy? Let's say if a marketing agency, could a marketing or advertising agency fit the description? Can a video producer fit, or production house fit the description?
I would not. If a marketing company applies for 331 funding at Mawarid, I would most likely not even take it a step further unless they have something to offer that has not been offered before, that creates IP. A marketing company that requires funding for its working capital cannot come and raise equity using 331. The equity needs to be given to a company that has a business model that is advanced, that uses technology for the delivery of services, and that has a chance of succeeding, obviously, because at the end of the day, banks are investors and they are taking a risk, albeit a lower than 100% risk. It's a 25% risk because the central bank has kindly covered the 75% of the risk, but nonetheless, banks are taking a risk. So the business model needs to be a business model that has a chance of succeeding.
Okay. Well, these are all the questions I have.
Can I just comment on the knowledge economy?
Of course.
Because just once and for all, to make it clear for everyone, I really have to mention the conditions that are required to fit in the knowledge economy according to the central bank.
This would be great, yes please.
Yes. So according to the central bank, if we look at the circular, we did not actually have a limited list of knowledge economy sectors. We, on purpose, kept it wide because we wanted as many sectors as possible to be covered by the circular. However, there are certain conditions, and I would like to state them very clearly once and for all. First of all, the first condition is that there should be an innovation and creativity in the project, okay? So it could be in the media, it could be in medical equipment, it could be agriculture, anything actually. But the most important element that comes hand in hand with the innovation and creativity is the element of a new technology. So we cannot just focus on a new or innovative or creative project without having a new technology, okay? So going back to your question, if there is a production house or a media or marketing agency or any of these, which is applying to Circular 331, actually it could be covered by the circular if there is the innovation and the new technology. So the regular production house that is producing a traditional movie with a regular script and actors and marketing, classical marketing strategies will not benefit. Whereas if the same production house is using a new technology, and here I could mention the transmedia that is now very popular. And by transmedia, we say online streaming, video on demand, web-enabled channels, gaming, all these that are results nowadays of the movies industry. If all these apply, then this production house has to go and establish a company, and this company with the new technology will benefit from Circular 331. Now, here we go to the third condition, which is establishing or incorporating a Lebanese SAL. This is the third condition. So we have innovation, technology, and a Lebanese SAL incorporated in Lebanon, not in the Panama, not in the Cayman Island, here in Lebanon, Lebanese SAL. Its main office and its main activity should be in Lebanon. It could have a branch outside Lebanon, but it should have a social and economic impact, because after all, the objective from the circular is to create job opportunities for young Lebanese people. And interestingly enough, we did not mention at what stage the company should be. So it could be a seed company, an intermediate company, or at a growth stage. The most important is that it should have a social, economic impact on the Lebanese economy. These are the main conditions for the having really or being covered by the Circular 331. And last, just for me to finish, on the $400 million, we are always using and repeating this figure. It's not, we're not going to stand there. We are using the 400 million figure just because it's the 3% reflection of the bank's deposit, bank's own funds. But it's going to grow. So, and another thing we should keep in mind that the central bank has not only taken the initiative of the startups, we can't forget that it has all through these years been subsidizing, giving subsidized loans and stimulus packages for SMEs that kept the economy growing.
Thank you very much, Marianne. I would like to hear last words from everyone before we close this panel. Who would like to start? Maroun.
Okay. To summarize, 331 is happening. 331 is something that's great. I think it's a game changer, personally. There are many steps that need to continue in the same direction, whether it's on the infrastructure that you mentioned briefly, whether it's markets to be able to liquefy whatever position, buy and sell and stuff like that. But I think if you want, the stage is set. Now it's up to people to start working quickly, fast, and to start showing results. And results is the number of companies that are going to apply, the companies that are going to be awarded funds, the number of jobs that are going to be created, and of course the success with time. So that's it. And I think you're going to start seeing a lot of progress very quickly. So every 6 months, there's going to be something new happening and some new announcement. And I'm not saying minor, but major or intermediate announcements.
Thank you. Mr. Reilly?
I think economic success in the future is built on 3 things: ideas, energy, and resilience. Beyond that, everything else can be acquired at pretty much a commodity price. As Marianne said, there's enough in the infrastructure now in Lebanon. I think the question for the Lebanese economy is, do you want to put up your hand and tell the rest of the world you're here and that you have a part to contribute to them?
Thank you. Marwan?
He just took my idea. I think I dream that in 2025, we would have put Lebanon through these initiatives that we spoke of this past hour. We would have put Lebanon on the world map, not because of some terrorist activity, but rather because of great successes of young guys. Hopefully, some of them would be sitting in this room. That would, give us so to say, the honor of, being Lebanese and, really playing a major role in the world economy.
Marianne?
I said enough. No. Actually, I don't want to sound utopic, but really, this is a real opportunity we have. And I really invite all the young people in this room and outside this room to believe in it and to really seize this opportunity and try to start thinking positively about it, positively about the country and staying in this country. I know there are perhaps many areas to be worked on or challenges, but we should not look at it this way. We should look at it in a positive way. We are in a position to do something, and we are going to do the best out of it.
Thank you. Nicolas?
I'm going to try and give a shot of adrenaline to the youth, at least those who are here today with us. You are the heroes. And I don't mean it as an idea, but seriously, if you look at your classmates when you graduated, out of the 30 classmates you had, how many are out there trying to do their own business, to create their own company with all the problems, the hurdles? The country depends on you. You will be the good job creators. Even if you fail, you are the heroes. Because you tried, because you accepted to take the risk, because you're going through everything you're going through, you are the heroes. And we hope to convince a lot of all others of the same generation, of the new generations, to give it a chance. But a tribute to the young Lebanese entrepreneur that is going to build this digital economy thanks to the Central Bank.
Thank you. Well, Marianne and gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We're really proud for all the effort that you have been doing. At least you've been playing an integral part of creating 331 and putting it and bringing this community all together. So hopefully we'll be hearing more good news. The best news I've heard today is we're going to have a stock exchange. We should tweet about it a lot. And hopefully Lebanon will be, as Marwan said, in 2025, will be a global player in that regard. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Panelists, will you join us in the front? We're about to start the awards ceremony to honor the winning entrepreneurs. If you can stay with us, we would love to have you. Please.